Ever wonder why your mind constantly zeroes in on problems, even when everything's fine? It's not just a habit. Your brain is wired this way, and there's a hidden reason for it. But here's the real question. What if you could change how you see the world?
My name's Dr. Doug Brackmann. This video is about why we see problems when we're having dysregulation in our central nervous system. And it's the way we work. And so let me dive right in. And as I'm explaining this to you, hopefully I can settle in and let this video just happen. Very simply, I've touched on this topic, explained this concept 10 different times in 10 different videos. The one about overcoming pain, because this will really step into the next important step about how to overcome this. So how we work as individuals is the first step of really understanding and then breaking free of this horrific addiction. I do call it an addiction. We are addicted to always seeing the problems in the world, always seeing the crap. As we're going through life, it seems like we pay attention 10 times more to the problems in our world than to the good things happening in the world. So every day I'm working with clients, and I do a lot of Zoom calls with clients. Something I do, it's an old practice, Peter Levine taught it to me, of really starting with, what's going good in your world. And it's remarkable how hard it is for all of my clients, you may notice that yourself, that to focus on the good is not natural to us. And, we are a fear-based animal. We are designed, and if you're driven, to live in a really scary, chaotic, trauma-filled world. Based upon your childhood experiences, we are wired, literally hardwired, for this saber-tooth tiger-filled, somebody can hit you in the head with a rock world. And, over the last 9,000 years, most of the human species seems to adapted much better to this world that is stable, predictable, and safe. Where if you're driven, coming from a transgenerational, trauma-filled past, we have literally adapted to a world that is anticipating trauma and anticipating. There's the stutter. And that stutter, I felt that kind of ping to my radar, which is going to make my brain focus even more on the little tiny errors in my speech. And so in real time, you're witnessing what I'm talking about. So what happens, how we work? We have two operating systems trying to make sense of this bizarre experience of being alive. We had this recording device down below the nose. And as you touch a hot stove, every single cell in this nerve pathway remembers that experience. Literally, it is hardwired into our system. And so pain is anchored in here. The reaction to pain then, that recoiling back from the hot stove, is also recorded as self-protective motor responses in this elephant. That this elephant is a trauma recording device. And once the trauma is recorded down here, this little limbic cluster, this ball of software writing equipment in the middle of our head records and imprints a visionary, a sensory experience, then looks for that pattern with this giant invisible radar. It's called the unconscious, this invisible radar looking out to the world. And as I'm talking, I'm hyper focused on every little voice inflection I'm making. And every little voice inflection I'm making is trying to validate this experience that I'm not doing it right. And so what is going on? And so again, the hot stove, this thing, this invisible radar is looking for square with 4 circles on top. I'm hyper focused on my little voice inflection and looking for patterns no, that's not perfect. And what that does, it releases a little bit of this trauma in my body, then triggers this second operating system. And the second operating system then is really where we get into this loop. And the metaphor that I use about the Indian elephant with a bunch of monkeys up on top, I got monkeys up in here that are just ears open listening to my damn voice. And every time they hear that little bit of off voice, they jump up and down, which sends more signals back down into the elephant, causing me to actually increase the adrenaline in my system, the cortisol in my system, the norepinephrine in my brain, turning their ears even more up to looking for that pattern. And so this feedback loop between the monkey and the elephants is really what gets this sensory system even more and more attuned to listening for the problems. And so how do I break that habit? How do I get out of that loop? Is that step of identity. So, as the Buddha asked, which one are you? Are you the monkey mind? Am I dug up here, with Mr. Perfect voice inflection, perfect presenter? Or am I this elephant down here that's remembering all of the times I spoke in class and all of the speeches I've given and all of the things that triggers the deepest fear of all human beings? Being kicked out of this proverbial herd of humans, getting kicked out of my tribe. And so if I'm not perfect, the loop is, or the negative belief, I got monkeys up in here that believe that if I'm not perfect, I'm going to be rejected. Everybody's got it. Here's the trick, and here's the first step, and this is really what I'm going into in this video, is being able to step out of that experience. This third element is this observer. And so I can step back out of my monkey mind. I can step into the sensory experience of my body. Most important key is I can then let go of that monkey mind, label it simply thinking, take this breath, which is cued by this third element, cued by this observer, and take the breath in, calm that. And here's the trick. I can then orient to my surrounding. And this is the key to this video. It's really the bridge to breaking this addiction we have to being scared all the time. What is the key to it is to orient to actually looking around the room and look for something that's neutral and seems to jump out at you. So as I'm looking around the room, something will grab my attention. And so as it grabs my attention, I'm looking at a name tag hanging from a bookshelf, and I become curious. You see that? I don't know if you could catch that. As I took the breath in, I leaned forward into it and actually grabbed this different part of the brain right here. And so I grabbed curiosity. And what is curiosity? And curiosity is that there is no judgment in curiosity. If you're not looking for something and you let the outer world kind of come into you, and I know that sounds kind of weird and nuanced, but try it now. So really take a look around the room and what grabs your attention from the outer world. So there's a bottle of lemon juice, and as that bottle of lemon juice, I don't know if you can see me kind of calm down, but it is this very interesting way I teach meditation and the way I teach, it's a fundamental understanding of monkey, elephant, observer, other terms, mind, body, and soul. And so when the soul becomes curious and the soul takes a look around, a byproduct of that, I'm not trying to calm down. I'm not trying to be less scared. I'm not trying to do anything. What I'm doing is letting the operating system take a frickin' break. So I've got this vigilance. If you're familiar with, trauma lingo and drivens, we are hyper vigilant. And, you put us in a functional MRI, and this is really why this core teaching of what this video is about is so critical for us. You put us in a functional MRI. What are the primary differences, very consistent differences across all of the meta-analysis looks at really functional MRIs and ADD or ADHD? The back of our heads light up. And so one of the fundamental differences between your brain, if you're ADD, ADHD, and the rest of the world, is the back of our heads light up. And this is called the occipital lobe. And what the occipital lobe is, it's where vision is recognized. And so we are visually dominant. where you put normals, and I'm finger air quote the hell out of that, put normals in a functional MRI, they have this nice ball of energy right here, and it's called the left prefrontal, where that is what is dominant in their world. They think their way through life. And if you're driven like I am, we see our way through life. Really important to remember then the monkey and elephant. And if we're seeing our way through life, what are we looking for? We're looking to validate literally how we feel. And so this bias and these perceptions that we see are not unfiltered. They are literally filtered by what we're feeling. You don't see it and feel it. It's literally as what you feel is what you see, is what jumps out to you. So that is a critical understanding about how this monkey and elephant machine work, in that as we're going through life, drivens in particular, visually dominant, you walk into a room, and if you're feeling anxious, you're feeling scared, what do you see? Confirmation bias. It confirms the way you're feeling, which does what? Ooh, here comes a monkey jumping in and going, yeah, you're right. And oh my God, that person is looking at me weird. And they're going to kick me out of the herd. And so that monkey jumping up and down then triggers even more adrenaline in the body. And so this curiosity, where you can actually see around your feelings, or what else are you noticing? And so that curiosity step, I cannot tell you how important it is, because the driven brain and what we are really good at then, unlike the single monkey people, I affectionately say that because they have a single monkey in their head, and that single monkey is really confirming what they think. And so they're way less likely to be living in this chronic state of anxiety like we are. What are they doing? It's hard for me to even imagine what that's like. I know what I'm doing, and this thing called hypofrontality. So defining feature of ADD and ADHD, if you're familiar with the literature, we have something called hypo, which means underactive frontal lobe, where they have a normally active frontal lobe. Put us in a functional MRI, the back of our heads light up, and then we have these little dots of activity on both sides. And so this hypofrontal lobe, what I call that is multi-thinking. And we, rather than having a single thinker up there, we got 7 to 13 monkeys jumping around up in there. And if you think about how we are designed as hunters rather than farmers, we are constantly looking around for what's going to validate what I'm experiencing in my inner world. That was my doctoral dissertation, was really the core of it, is self-fulfilling prophecy or self-sabotage. We are seeing what we feel, which validates this loop, literally, of my inner world. So we are constantly in this state of whatever I'm feeling here, that is the world I'm in, and I'm seeing it that way. This third element, where if you're driven like I am, you have to develop this curiosity, this ability to step out of the experience and become curious about what am I missing. And as I gave you a little hint of it, this practice then is to where you can become curious, and most important step of this, let the outer world come into you. Seems like a minor nuance, but it's not. You can try it right now. Take a nice easy breath in, and on the slow descent of the exhale, look around and see what starts to pop curiously out from the outside in. So there's the name tag again. There's a box that's actually an interesting orange box, and I tilt my head a little bit and said, whoa. Noticing these things, most importantly, my shoulders start to drop, and all of a sudden I call it the 4-wall practice, where you can start to feel the 4 walls around you. So you take another breath in and really feel the 4 walls. See the wall in front, you can imagine the wall behind, and I'm in this room. A byproduct of that. My intention is not to calm down. That's the most important. My intention is to actually become present. And so visual acuity, because I'm simply dominant, because I'm driven, I can really start to look at the room. And as I really start to look at the room, you may notice even my voice is getting calmer. I'm not paying attention to my voice any longer. That little monkey that was up there constantly judging what I was saying finally went to sleep. Well, it's a metaphor I wanted to give you here. Went to sleep, and I'm starting to become even more curious about what I'm noticing. And you may notice, and as I look around the room, it's very tempting to start to notice things that need cleaned up. There's an electrical socket on the wall that needs a new cover on it. There's something over there, the printer needs to be organized. It is that next jump that I'll invite you to make is take a look around and see how you naturally are drawn to problems, to things that you need to do, and so there's the habit. And is that coming from the elephant? It is. It's not coming from the monkey mind. And so as I get calmer and I let go of those little things that need to be done in the room, like organizing things and picking stuff up, what does look nice to you? Where do you feel most organized in the outer? So I look at my bookshelf, I got another bookshelf on the other wall, and it seems organized. I can see my eyes going to the parts of the book that seem disorganized and noticing the bothness of it. And so in that, this is the fundamental beginnings of a meditation practice. And that meditation practice, addressing this particularly driven problem-seeking mind and body that we have, you'll never get rid of it. It is a gift. And while you're driving your car, you want to be vigilant. You want to keep this radar on, obviously. But when you're sitting there watching TV, and many of I've driven clients, I can't just sit down and watch TV. I have to keep going and doing stuff. But pay attention to what you're going to go do. Oh, I'm going to go do the dishes. I'm going to go do things to actually feel like I'm always progressing or feel like I'm making my world better, which is important to understand. I'm not trying to make myself okay or feel like I'm, getting rid of this show, the full catastrophe of my life. And so it's that balance between both, noticing the things where I need to clean over there. But most of this place is actually organized and pretty clean. So it is this ability to actually let things be and not validate the emotion either way. And so this is starting to introduce you guys to concepts around what we do about it. So basic recap, simple recap. We have an elephant down here that is constantly sending signals up to our eyeballs and to the monkey mind to validate how it's feeling. I'll say that again. We see what we feel on autopilot. Until you become aware of that, which is this third element, this a curious, mindful observer. And mindfulness, remember, this is the brain. This whole thing that we're living in is the mind. And so mindfulness is actually seeing the whole system. And so seeing that elephant, catching this bias, this confirmation bias is what they call it. And what we're doing is confirming the way we feel. And if we stay in that trap, what happens is the monkey mind then wakes up. You get these monkeys up there going, yeah, that is right. And they start to feed it. The old metaphor, and this is something I heard probably 25 years ago, and it's Chinese, often talk about how there are thousands of sleeping dragons in the body. Something comes along, usually a thought, doesn't have to be, something comes along and pings the radar to one of these dragons and it wakes up. And we have three choices with these dragons. First thing that most people do, and it's the habit, is to feed the dragon. And you walk into a classroom, you walk into a work, somebody gives you stink eye, somebody's looking at their phone, they look up at you with a dirty look on their face, wakes up this dragon, you're going to get kicked out of the herd, wakes up a monkey, that monkey then seeks further evidence that it's valid. Meaning that, maybe what am I wearing? Maybe it's my breath. Something in that loop then, that monkey starts to jump up and down, getting this dragon down there. And what happens when you feed a dragon? It gets bigger. Cognitive behavioral therapy in the classic, attempts to fight the dragon, meaning that you come up with alternative thoughts. You got a monkey up there that says, well, no, maybe they're looking at their cell phone, probably not about me. What happens though is that you get another monkey then going, yeah, it is. No, it's not. Yeah, it is. No, it's not. And the dragon then, this emotion down here fights back. What happens when you fight a dragon? They blow fire on their ass. And third choice is to put the dragon back to sleep. Acknowledging the emotional ping. This is the key of it. You got to let yourself, ooh, that pinged my radar that I could get kicked out of the herd. That is a feeling. That is a sensation in the body. Sensation turns into, that is an emotion. And emotion has never gotten me in trouble. Never once. Ever. You take the E off, turn that E motion into motion, and you go open. Are you okay? What did I do? There's the loop. So that third choice, you acknowledge the ping, you take a breath in, you orient to the outer world. What looks neutral to you? Feeling and experiencing this dragon that was woke up in the body literally calm back down. And then you go on about your day. So interestingly, those pings to the radar, 90+% of them are all fear. Based on those other videos I've done really about how we are pain-seeking machines, we really are, pretty driven like I am, we are looking for things that can cause threat. It's the old carrot and stick metaphor. You can train a donkey with a carrot, but they pay much more attention to the stick, meaning that you smack them. And so we are hyper vigilant to the sticks and ignore the carrots. So this practice that I'm talking about is finding carrots in your outer world. I'm not trying to come up with thoughts. That's key to this. Stuart Smalley back in the old Saturday Night Live skit. I'm good enough and smart enough. Gosh darn it, people like me. Those thoughts, positive thoughts, tend to actually, in the period-driven brain, get met with even bigger gorillas. And then you got, most of my clients describe it. I used to have it bad. You may be struggling with it. Is the battle between, I am this and I am that. Maybe you're there, where your body is just freaking out the whole time. Third choice, take a breath, anchor your reality into the outer world rather than the inner world of thinking and feeling and sensation. How does the outer world look? And as we practice in this video a little bit, you may notice mostly neutral. And then we very quickly get into seeing how we're addicted to really looking at the negative. Can't break that habit unless you practice. So if you enjoyed this video, the bandwidth video is probably a really good one to follow up on this. Bandwidth is talking about how as we get the elephant one particular way to positive, we really grab to the negative. And if we're really negative, we have the opportunity then to really, it's the classic, I'm not this good, but I'm not that bad. Where truth is, we're neither of those things. That's all reactions we're having in the central nervous system.
Now that you know why your brain constantly zeroes in on problems, it's time to take your self-understanding to the next level. Watch this video next because it'll explain why your brain seems to choose pain over happiness and how to break the habit. And get your free training from the link below. You'll be glad you did.